The Atlantic was an iron-gray wasteland on the night of May 26, 1941. High above the churning whitecaps, the British swordfish biplanes nicknamed string bags because they looked like they were held together by wire and hope staggered through the clouds. In the cockpit of one of those planes was Sub-Lieutenant John Jock Moffett. His open cockpit plane was freezing, the wind whipping at his goggles, and the spray of the ocean stinging his face. Below him, somewhere in the dark, was the Bismarck, the most feared battleship in the world. It was a floating fortress that had just sunk the pride of the British Navy, the HMS Hood. "Do you see her, Jock?" His observer yelled over the roar of the Pegasus engine. "Not yet." Then the world exploded. The Bismarck had opened fire. The battleship's anti-aircraft guns lit up the night with thousands of tracers, creating a literal wall of fire. But the Swordfish had a strange advantage. It was so slow that the German gunners, calibrated for modern, fast planes, kept aiming too far ahead. Jock dived. He dropped his plane until he was just 50 feet above the crests of the waves, so low that the sea spray was hitting his landing gear. Steady, steady. He released his torpedo. He didn't see it hit. He had to pull up sharply to avoid slamming into the side of the giant ship. He climbed into the clouds, his heart hammering against his ribs. On the Bismarck, the hit felt like a minor tremor. But that one torpedo, delivered by a relic of a plane, had struck the ship's rudder. The massive rudder was jammed at a 12-degree turn. The great pride of the German Navy was suddenly unable to steer. It began to move in a slow, wide circle, a wounded giant walking in loops in the middle of a graveyard. As the British fleet closed in for the final battle the next morning, a strange thing happened on the Bismarck. The ship's band, knowing the end was near, gathered on the deck. Amidst the smoke and the looming shadows of British battleships, they began to play. They didn't play a war march. They played a soft, haunting waltz. The German sailors, exhausted and terrified, stopped for a moment. They listened to the music drifting over the sound of the rising gale. For a few minutes, they weren't soldiers of a regime. They were just men on a sinking island, listening to the last melody they would ever hear. When the Bismarck finally slipped beneath the waves, the music stopped. Jock Moffett, flying back to his carrier, saw the oil slick on the water and felt a strange lack of triumph. He had done his duty, but he knew that at the bottom of the sea, the world was now a little quieter. Jock lived to be 97 years old. He always kept a small model of a swordfish on his desk. He knew that history isn't always made by the biggest guns or the fastest engines. Sometimes it's decided by a slow plane, a jammed rudder, and a final lonely note of music on the wind.